Hello, welcome, and Merry Christmas Eve. This is Lindsay Waller reading Chapter 3 from my book, Turn Your Magic All the Way Up, A Ridiculous Guide to Discovering Yourself After Narcissistic Abuse. This is available on Amazon as Kindle, paperback, and also audiobook, read by me. Or you can just tune in here once a week. I'm now reading a chapter for free on my YouTube channel, so subscribe and come back. And this is all about getting the word out and educating people on what narcissistic abuse really is. So I figured this was the next step. And yes, my hair changes regularly. It's my mood ring. Whenever I just feel like changing it, it does. And right now we're trying to grow out the sides and maybe go back to long hair. We'll see how long that lasts. So, yeah. Anyway, let's move on, shall we? Chapter 3, Signs and a Spiritual Awakening. Oh, yes. And as always, there is a Spotify playlist that accompanies my book. I wrote this book listening to an order of songs that I think went well with each chapter. And I thought, hey, you know what? My listeners or readers might want to see what I was listening to. So I'll put the link to the Spotify playlist in the comments description below. Okay, here we go. Song, I Am Not a Woman, I'm a God by Halsey. I am the biggest skeptic I know. I need cold, hard facts. I used to consider myself an atheist, but after the last 3 years of crazy, spooky signs I've experienced that are so clear that it's ridiculous, I must admit that there's more to this life than just what we can see with our eyes. For example, while writing this very book, the freaking lights attached to my Alexa timer came on exactly when Blue October sang the line, "Give me the chance to turn my lights back on." I mean, come on. It's clearly the universe saying hello and sending me a sign that I'm on the right path. To others, it's a coincidence. But when I add up the hundreds of such signs that I've seen over the past few months, I can't deny what I've witnessed. I even had a run-in with a ghost last year. There's something more out there, and it reminds me of its existence every day. I have got to give credit where credit is due. I don't believe in the definition of a quote-unquote God, but there has got to be some force of energy at play in this universe that we don't grasp yet. There is something out there that tries to guide those of us who finally relinquish control, who stop trying to force things and let them flow naturally, and who are just trying their very best to be a genuinely good person every day. I've seen it work for many friends with big hearts, and I've seen it go badly for those with darkness in their souls. The universe speaks in signs. I see them all the time. 1111 is prominent and recurring in my everyday life. Anytime I catch it, which is often, I know the universe is telling me that everything will be okay. Just breathe. I even have a story about an 1111 bracelet I purchased online the other day. I had placed the order for the very last bracelet available, and I was pleased as punch that I got it before it was snagged by somebody else. The seller wrote me a few days later to say that there had been some strange mix-up where the listing showed that she had sent it when she hadn't. She didn't know where the payment went, and she apologized profusely. We were laughing about the strange circumstances. I was sending screenshots to verify my payments, and we finally finished with the transaction right at 11:11 a.m. I wear that bracelet every day. Signs are sent to us regularly. You just need to teach yourself to see them and allow yourself to recognize them as such. It is not a coincidence. It is not your imagination. You're not being silly, and you're not overreacting. And don't let anyone else tell you that what your intuition is telling you. And don't let anyone else tell you what your intuition is telling you. You know what I meant. Each person has their own relationship with the energy circulating in this world. So they might not be as awake as you are, and your signs might be completely different from theirs. That's okay. That's their path. Just don't allow anyone to shit on yours. Any time in my past where I've questioned what to do, I have chosen to live by the words that my cousin imparted on me once. Leap and the net will appear. This is where having good energy comes in. I think it does appear for the good-hearted, for those with good intentions. When I started listening to that motto and living by it, it put me on a path to changing things. It's scary to close your eyes and jump into the unknown, but I have done it multiple times over the last 3 years, and every time I leap in the direction my happiness is pointing, I find a soft landing. Just be brave enough to jump and trust with all your heart that the universe will catch you, and it will. I know this energy thing to be real because some sensitive empaths out there can pick up on bad vibes in buildings with a history of traumatic events, or who get exhausted being around too many people all at once, and crowds are overstimulating to the senses. These things cause an emotional overload. Empaths and neurodivergent individuals as well often feel the need to recharge in peace and quiet afterward. I am very much like that. Song Stay With Me by Blue October. I also know it's real because I not only see the signs for myself, but I was able to witness the universe send some signs to Narc number 3 and watch him purposely ignore them and follow his familiar path of darkness instead. The familiar is comfortable. Change and unknown is scary, but everything you have ever wanted is on the other side of fear. What I saw as clear signs, he laughed off as me being ridiculous. In hindsight, I should have seen this as foreshadowing. You can't force people into the light. You can only show them and hope they follow. Early in the relationship, when I introduced Narc number 3 to my affinity with 1111, he scoffed and belittled it. I think he had been testing boundaries to see if he could feed on me getting upset about it and give him some narcissistic supply. When he got no reaction out of me, because I am solid in the fact that I see signs all the damn time, he never bothered me about it again. Instead, he adopted it for himself. Stole. Just like the previous 2 narcs had. When they can't bully or shame you into stopping, they adopt it as their own to try to steal it from you. I wonder how often they catch 1111 now that I'm gone. I'm pretty sure I'm what brought any kind of good energy or spirituality into their lives for real, and when I left, that left too. Some people see sensitive souls and empaths as weirdos, or even more ridiculous, weak people who need to, quote unquote, toughen up, and they laugh at us. I call those people bullies who are out of touch with themselves. They are asleep. They're not fully conscious. I just hope one day they dig deep and see where it all comes from so they can one day be enlightened too. Big-hearted, loving, giving, empathic people are weak. You have no fucking idea the strength it takes to experience life raw dog, emotions exposed at all times. It's a hell of a ride, a hell of a roller coaster, and only the bravest people ride those. If courage is understood as the soldier running into battle, knowing he might not come back alive, then those who choose to truly love are the bravest of us all. We, like the soldier, know we might get hurt, and yet we never give up and charge in anyway, time and time again. So you say empaths and codependents are weak? Give me a break. We are the strongest people you know, even if you don't see it. We take more abuse than anyone deserves, and we will always come out stronger for it and still be able to love. We can't be broken. All of this is about finding enlightenment in your world and in your life. Not necessarily the kind of woo-woo Buddhist enlightenment you might be thinking, and definitely not the, quote, I'm better than you, quote, unquote, enlightenment either. There is no such thing as better than anyone. There is only different. Different is unique, and unique is good. Remember that. The enlightenment I'm talking about is the literal, quote, aha, my light bulb turned on moment for you. Enlightenment. Light. When it comes to leaping without a net, if your intentions are always coming from a place of good, then I advise you to always follow your first instinct, whatever that may be. Don't question yourself when it comes to that. It is your subconscious speaking for you at a time when you can't consciously see the truth. It doesn't lie to you. Don't explain it away. Don't let anyone tell you to ignore it or quote unquote push past it, because that is when people get hurt. Trust yourself always. See life lesson number 1. Always strive to help rather than harm, to learn more, to be humble, to be honest, to be vulnerable, to genuinely be a good person, and I promise you it will come back to you. Karma is real. The energy you put out, you receive. Believe in yourself above all things, and I promise you that when you leap, the net will appear. Excuse me. Song Mean by Taylor Swift. Even with all my good intentions to help people, to spread hope, to inform people of the dangers of predatory behavior, I know the haters and trolls are coming. Oh yes, I know they're coming. I sit here shaking my head, sighing loudly, knowing full well that by writing this book, I am opening myself up to a world of hate. I'm having to start armoring up for that now, just to be prepared. I know this book won't be well received by everyone, and everyone is entitled to their own opinion. It's when people attack one another that I have a problem. My sense of injustice gets triggered because there is no reason to be hateful towards someone else's passion, especially if that passion is simply helping people to live a joyful life. Never let anyone rain on your parade. Remember that how they react is a direct reflection of how they feel about themselves and has nothing to do with you. Kind people who love themselves don't do hateful things like that. They just don't. Hang on to your inner peace. Know your truth always and be good in it. The opinions of others don't matter. I'm sure there will be those who will flip my words to mean whatever fits their agenda, using my most well-intentioned messages against me. They will try to trigger shame in me because what I'm saying scares them. To find true joy in their own life by facing their past or owning up to their mistakes is just too scary. So they are going to lash out at me to tell me how ridiculous that is, so they never have to entertain the idea that they should do something about fixing themselves. They will call me crazy and stay stuck, never growing, and at the same time pawn me off as a nut job worth their time to be taken seriously. Or they'll say, since I'm not a doctor, I can't speak on what makes a narcissist or classify someone as having NPD. I say, professionals help, but there is no replacing firsthand lived-in experience. If I were blind, I'd want a book written by another blind person about how to best get through life, because a professional opinion only goes so far if they still have eyes and can see. It's funny how these future hypothetical trolls sound an awful lot like narcissists, isn't it? When I started viewing trolls online as narcs, I learned to quit wasting my time trying to argue. You should try it. It's liberating. It's too bad, really, because they're only harming themselves by closing the door to finding joy in their life. But that is their path. I've learned you can't change anyone except yourself. Another instance of namaste and walk away. I don't let fear of criticism stifle this pull to write, to get this book out there to help others. I listen to myself now. I control what I feel, not anyone else. I am divinely selfish, and I deserve every bit of it. The main message here is that you do too. I must allow these people to talk badly about me and not get upset about it, not take it personally. There is freedom in that, and I encourage everyone to try to learn that skill. Allowing people to be on their own path of enlightenment has been the hardest part for me so far. I just want to help. It's what draws us people-pleaser codependents into relationships with narcs in the first place, usually. I used to call it my Superman syndrome. I wanted to save everyone. We often don't realize that by trying to be helpful, we often make things worse. Song, Not Ready to Make Nice by the Chicks. It's part of what drew me to the 3 narc relationships. I wanted so badly to fix them, quote unquote, to show each of them what the other side of life looked like when it was lived in full color, magic turned all the way up, happy, honest, and carefree. I offered it all to them, and they used me and shit on me, every one of them. They resented me for having something good to offer them. They manipulated me when they didn't even need to. Why would anyone do that? I would have given them whatever they needed or wanted had they only asked. I loved them that much and was that codependent, that enabling. Yet each one manipulated me for something. I was of some use to them somehow. Finances, narcissistic supply, sex, a maid, a mother, etc. I was not anyone special to any of them, although they all told me I was. I was just a space filler because narcs can't keep anyone around that long, so why bother taking the time to really get to know me? I fell for it 3 times in a row because these men were just giving me more confirmation of what I had been taught in my childhood, and that was that I wasn't important. I was recycling patterns of my youth. There it is, that link back to childhood. We will come around to that often, as will you when you put your own pieces together. You are going to realize, as I did, that every silly and ridiculous seeming reaction that you have in the present stems from an experience and emotional reaction tied to a different experience from your past. Sit with yourself and start thinking back on the memories that stand out to you. It's okay if you reminisce about the same ones as always, and you can't think of anything new just yet. Think of the same ones again and try to figure out the emotion that's tied to that memory and why you think it stands out so much. Were you happy, joyous, scared, envious, sad, hurt, frustrated? What were you feeling? What you were feeling is important because it is literally all that we are, especially back when we were kids. As humans, we are made up entirely of emotion. We are walking balls of energy, 99.9% empty space. Look up atoms. And we are feeling emotional beings. Our memories are telling us to pay attention. So I started listening. Song, Therapy by Peyton Porter. I realized a lot of the time I couldn't name the emotions I was feeling because I had shoved them down for so long I couldn't recognize them for what they were. It took a lot of work to figure out that being pissed off was just me masking a whole lot of hurt, sorrow, and fear. I had mistakenly labeled myself as having anger issues when what I had was repressed emotions and unrecognized trauma issues instead. I started giving my inner child permission to do whatever the fuck she wants to do, which has been a truly joyous experience so far. It's actually a necessity if you truly want to find happiness. Start talking to your inner child and literally ask questions to start a dialogue between you. I promise you'll hear some surprising answers, and don't be surprised if you hear a voice answer you back. Check in with him or her every day just to see how you're doing. Your happiness depends on it. Life lesson number 3, talk to your inner child daily. The best thing to do in life is to always strive to be good, to be kind, to learn more, and to do better. When we stop trying is when we die, physically and metaphorically, if you ask me. The only time we fail in life is if we give up and stop trying. If we are trying every day to keep going, to be better, to help people, to find joy, and our intentions are always for good, then we are always succeeding in life. Narc intentions are never for good. They are only for their own selfish wants, usually at the expense of someone else. Narcs have stopped trying to do anything other than manipulate others and are as close to dead inside as a human can get. Here's where they are going to call me crazy. I see a split coming if it hasn't arrived already. Here in the US, for sure, it certainly feels like the population has split into narcissists versus empaths. on that spectrum that I drew before. Normal people are stuck somewhere in the center, but normal people are few and far between these days. This country is truly fractured into the I'm in it for me and I'll step on whoever I need to in order to get what I want, narcissist side of the spectrum, and the we are all human and everyone deserves to be treated equally, empath side of the spectrum. Song Fighter by Christina Aguilera. I'm only going to venture slightly into politics, but it must be said, Trump, his goons, and all his supporters fall high on that narcissism spectrum. Bernie and his supporters, like me, are high on the empath spectrum. We need to stop looking at politics in terms of red or blue and start looking at it as less or more narcissistic. That's simplifying it way the fuck down, but it's just my opinion, my interpretation of the way this world is turning. We have got to turn things around before the narcs of the world literally destroy the planet and take us all down with them. We need to function as a society, and that means caring for our fellow man. This is what an empath is all about, caring for others. This is exactly what a narcissist is against. They're out for themselves and will sacrifice anyone to get what they feel they deserve. We need to find a way to stop mass producing narcs in the world, and that means parents need to step up. See my upcoming chapter on parenting. This might sound far-fetched to some, but I'm at the point in my life where I'm entertaining the thoughts that make sense to me, and this makes a whole lot of sense. I have experienced a ton of weird shit thus far that has given me a truly solid foundation on which to base my beliefs, opinions, and preferences on. As I stated earlier, we should all trust our intuition, our gut instinct. Up to now, I didn't trust mine, and it has been right every time. I'm not ignoring it anymore. As an empathic person, I was taken advantage of by 3 different narcissistic abusers. It is because I lived through these soul-destroying relationships and hit rock bottom that I was able to find myself. It really fucking sucks that each and every one of us must experience some form of their own nothing else to lose moment to reach enlightenment, but it seems to be a prerequisite. I won't thank the narcs. I learned what I did despite their manipulation and abuse, not because of it. I am smarter and stronger than they are, which is why I am on the other side, and they will all 3 remain in the swamps of sadness, being held down forever in the muck by their own toxic thoughts, beliefs, and tall tales. I can't pull them out any more than Atreyu could pull Artax out in the never-ending story. No matter how badly we want to help these people, the narcs or the addicts we love, realizing that we often must sit back and watch them sink, knowing there is nothing we can do to save them, is heart-wrenching. I was shown 3 people who I loved tremendously. As it turned out, each of the personas these 3 narcs presented to me were false. Narc victims fall in love with someone that doesn't exist. The narcs wear masks and play roles to fool you. They create a new character specifically for you based on all the things you say you want in a person. Turns out, narcs are simply imitating you. So whatever they present to you is just you falling in love with yourself, baby girl, and don't you forget that. There's a moment of self-realization and love to be had here when you see they simply mirror you back onto yourself. My narcs are no different than your narcs. When you fall in love with them, you fall in love with everything you are and just don't see. Song, The Kill by 30 Seconds to Mars. The truly manipulative, high on the spectrum narcs are simply trying to keep you strung along for as long as possible before you figure out who they really are and you run away as fast as you can. They know it won't last because they are aware of all the lying and deceit they're doing. It's the same pattern they've been repeating their entire life. They know what's coming. They know it'll catch up to them, so they will always be setting up some sort of escape route. They will say they commit to you, but never fully do because they don't think commitment is a real thing. How could it be with someone who is as manipulative as they are? They are empty inside. They have lost their ability to feel a true emotional range of anything more than shame and fear, and so they play pretend. They've watched and learned their toxic manipulative patterns their entire life. And if you're honest and loving, you are a perfect target. They go for the kindest people in the world and they exploit them and abuse them, all in the name of love. In my case, they mirrored back to me what I wanted more than anything. A whole lot of jubilance and rainbows. I was loving it. I felt like a kid again. It was the releasing of my inner child, not the narcs, that made me feel so freaking awesome. I just didn't know it yet. As a true codependent, I tried in vain to save each one of these narcs, but to quote Dita Von Teese, you can be the ripest, juiciest peach in the world, and there's still going to be somebody who hates peaches. You can't make everyone happy, and you can't save people. You can't save anyone, actually, except yourself. So do that. Save your fucking self. No knight is going to come riding up on a white horse to save you. Armor up and go fight those dragons yourself. One day it sank in and I finally said to myself, you know how to ride. Be your own goddamn knight in shining armor. Saving yourself means getting in touch with what you really want out of life. See life lesson number 3. Listen to that inner child, that inner voice that drive inside that is trying to tell you what it would really think is fun right now. What would really make them happy right now? Is it a vacation? Try planning one, even if it's just a road trip. Is it redecorating your house? Try rearranging it first and then go from there. Is it drawing or reading or taking a bath? Fucking go do it. Give in to your urges at least once a day. Self-care is of utmost importance. My thing this year is to entertain any daydream. For far too long, I stifled my creativity because I thought it wasn't needed in my life. I wondered where my ability to come up with a million different storylines for my Briar Horses or my Little Ponies went. I wondered why I quit drawing when I used to love it and do it all the time. In order to spark my imagination back into firing, I decided I am not calling myself silly, stupid, or ridiculous for wanting anything childlike that sparks joy in my life this year. I am entertaining every daydream just to see where it goes. It's the same brainstorming that is done in corporate environments. I'm just doing it for myself and letting my creative juices flow wherever they may. I can't change the narcs, but I can change me. So that I won't put myself in positions to be hurt anymore. So that's what I'm doing. When my mind starts telling me this book is going to help a ton of people and hit a nerve with the world right now, I'm entertaining that daydream because why the fuck not? What harm does it do to play pretend and imagine how awesome it would be to finally feel heard, to feel understood, and to help others while doing it? Just thinking about it makes me smile and brings me joy, so I fully encourage daydreaming if it makes you smile and brings you a spark of happiness. There's too little of it in the world these days. Encourage it wherever you can. Song Backfoot by Dinosaur Pileup. In entertaining a daydream to write, I ended up finding my passion. My degree is not in journalism. It is in animal production. My life is a series of almost, this being one of them. I wanted an equine science degree. Nope, I was short one class for that title, so I had to settle for animal production instead. I chased my other hobby, horses, for a really long while. Even with the horses, I was almost at the top, almost on my college rodeo team, almost good enough to place in the 1D in barrel racing, almost making a name for myself. I almost had a successful horse training facility. Almost. The same with the guys I dated. They all had done cool shit right before I got with them, but I never got to do all the cool shit with them. I was close. I almost got to do it, but I never did. I feel now that it was the universe pushing me to do my own cool shit. I have my own gifts to offer this world that are worth more than just riding some dude's coattails. Are you too used to that almost but not quite there feeling? I feel like an entire generation lives with this feeling, and it ain't just me. We all feel that if it weren't for almost, we'd finally be happy. Does that sound right to you? What if I told you that it's always almost, because when you find your thing, it won't be almost anymore? Trust your gut. Do what makes you happy. Talk to your inner child and face your past. See what shakes loose. It's never too late to learn more about yourself. I try to be everyone's biggest cheerleader and spout statistics to anyone who needs an ego boost. Don't give up. So many people succeed in their later years. It's never too late. You can do this. Go team. You can be successful and hit a brand new stride well past your 30s and 40s. Look at Danny Trejo and Hwang Dong-hyuk, the guy who created Squid Game, J.K. Rowling and Betty White, who hit a whole new stride well in their 70s, come to mind. I never allowed myself to dream that could be me, though. It can be you, too. Why am I 45 and just now entertaining this quote-unquote crazy idea to write a book? Because I did what everyone does and shoved down what I thought might be fun to do for a living, and instead I did what it took to pay bills and be respectable, responsible, and make my parents happy. We do what we are trained to do, and if we can't or we don't, then we allow ourselves to be so eaten up by guilt that we become depressed, unhappy, and fall into all sorts of problems and addictions to cope with the pain of living an inauthentic life. I'm not living that way anymore. To me, it all truly comes down to being in touch with your inner child and finding what it would take to make you happy. A lot of people don't want to face what that might be because it's scary. As an example, what if what would make you truly happy is to get a divorce and move to Hawaii? Song Believer by Kilhannah. All right, let's just entertain that idea for a minute. No judgment. It might be frightening to admit that you need a divorce, but if you're truly unhappy, then something needs to change. Your unhappiness with your family will not be helpful for them either. Staying somewhere, if you're miserable, only models an unhealthy relationship for your children, who then search that same relationship out for themselves later in life. They will permit unhappiness and more because they grew up viewing it as normal. Don't ever stay together for the kids. If you're unhappy, you need to get out for everyone's sake. Once you decide to get a divorce, start making plans and taking steps to go through with your plan. The next step would be to look for jobs in Hawaii. Start pretending at first, if that's what it takes. Make an imaginary list of the things you would need to do in order to make such a thing happen. Then gradually start working your way through that list. Before you know it, I bet you will have an actual plan and be well on your way to changing your life. Everyone should live their life for their own happiness. If we would do this and allow everyone else the permission to do what they want for their own happiness, we'd be free of so much guilt for each other. Life is too short not to live it with joy. Don't be frightened of change. I've gone through so many changes that the idea of change excites me a little now. It's because change equals hope to me. I've experienced happiness after changing things in my past, which has trained my brain to view change as pleasure instead of pain. Being able to train yourself to this is totally doable, but you must first be brave enough to conquer your fears and do exactly what it is you are afraid of doing. Something even scarier than change is staying stuck your entire life, just waiting and hoping for things to change while your whole life just passes you by. Change is going to be necessary when you start digging deep to see why you are unhappy. You're going to find what needs to happen in your life to bring back joy into it, and things are going to have to change in order to achieve it. Change might even mean letting go of some people. Change might mean a big leap of faith, a change of career, a change of living arrangement, a change of state or country of residence, a change of thinking. Whatever the change may be, it will frighten some people and excite others. How open you are to change indicates how flexible you will be when things don't go your way in life. And I'm sure you know as well as I do that things won't always go your way. Things won't always go the way you want them to, but you've got to have faith that it will always end up going the way they needed to go, whether you see it at the time or not. It's our job to go with the flow and allow the magic to happen on its own. Our job is to simply have faith that it will be there when the time is right. A real magic do as you will moment, a la The Last Unicorn, which is one of my favorite movies ever. That movie is entirely too underrated, if you ask me. It's deeper than any cartoon has any right to be, and I love it so much. If you haven't seen it, go watch it right now. It's available on Amazon Prime, I believe, for free. And no, it's not a kid's movie. I have watched it after taking some mushrooms on New Year's Eve this year, the year I wrote the book. It hit me that Schmendrick tries to force his magic to come out by doing various spells, but when he simply chants, "Magic, do as you will," is when the real magic happens. It's a great analogy for life. You can't force it. You must let it happen organically, and what is meant to be will happen if you give it the space to. Life lesson number 4, don't try to force things, learn to let go. The point here is, don't force anything to work. Life, relationships, art, magic, whatever. When you force things, they inevitably don't work well, if at all. But if you just let go, if you just allow things to be, to let things flow naturally, magic will happen on its own. I've fucking seen it. You must let it go. Yeah, just like Frozen. Relinquish that need to steer your ship because sometimes you're steering it onto the rocks. Magic and the good energy of the universe will save you every time if you let it. Every single motivational speaker, musician, artist, author, actor, whoever started somewhere just like me and you with a passion and a true belief in themselves. They felt drawn to doing something and they felt confident enough in themselves to want to pursue it no matter how hard it might get. They all encourage you to dream big. Go for your dreams. The sky's the limit. So why not? I'm doing it, and I encourage everyone else to follow their magic too. I've been screaming about feeling unheard and unappreciated, feeling like I have important things to share and say, but no one seems to care or listen. What better way to feel heard than to write a book? I know that this book will reach those who need it and who want it. The best and only way to truly be heard is by finding those in your tribe who understand you. Write a book, the universe said, and see where it takes you. So here I am, finally getting it all out so I can feel heard, because why the fuck not? Let's turn our magic all the way up and say, I trust you, universe. I know you'll steer me where I need to go. So magic, do as you will. All right, that is the end of chapter 3. Next week is chapter 4. That's entitled Karma Fairy, and I hope you will tune in and subscribe and share this with everybody. I'll put the link if you want to buy the actual book or the audiobook on Amazon. It's $10 for the paperback, and I think it's $15 for the audiobook. Or, like I said, subscribe and get it for free here. Anyway, Merry Christmas, everybody. Thanks for subscribing and tuning in, and I'll see you soon. Bye!